So in the call we have Lemaiyan. So Lemaiyan was a DevOps engineer at Andela and is currently a software engineer at Twiga Foods. So what else? He's also a student at Jomo Kenyatta University. So he's at the Beta Milestone, and he'll be taking us through the introduction of Azure. Yes. Continue.
Yeah, thank you very much, Beth. It's a pleasure to have all of you here to learn and share together to grow. So we will be talking about cloud computing in general and how it even came to be in a friendly manner, slowly, but within the shortest time possible. So we'll have a lot of time to take back and use for other equally important things in life. So yeah, so thanks for the intro, Beth. I will not reintroduce myself. Um, Today's session is facilitated by the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors. Yeah, I believe if you're on this call, you know what we do. And yeah, we basically share our learnings with every day and other things we do, mostly with Microsoft technologies and advocate for usage and usage of the Microsoft Learn platform. All right, so we will just be talking about cloud computing, then we will contextualize it with Azure. So I'll just be brushing through the theory, the evolution, the just how cloud computing was born and how far we are at the moment. Then I'll hand it over to Beth, who will just basically take us through a demo, which I won't preempt what it is about. She'll just surprise us with what she has, and then we can call it a day. So, um, in the beginning, there was computing, back in the time of the Charles Babbage, and even before that, we used to do maths and we used to calculate and play with numbers and count stuff because computing at that time was near border calculation. But over time, we've come to define computing as the process of using any computer technology to complete a given goal-oriented task. So computing may encompass the design and development of software, hardware systems, but it's just broad. So um, over time and currently, all that is just to aid in the pursuit of scientific studies, making intelligent systems with AI, the robots, and all that stuff, and also creating and using different media for entertainment and communication. So the Facebooks, the Instagram, what we call social media, effectively. So all that is a result of computing, really. And then the internet gave birth to the cloud. We were there with the ENIACs and EDVACs and all those traditional computers, sending Neil Armstrong to the moon until they discovered the upper internet, right? So we interconnected computers and we were able to send messages to each other. And over time, we realized that we can actually share resources over the internet. So that is where the cloud is born, because the cloud is just servers that you access over the internet and the software and databases that run on those servers. So cloud servers can be located anywhere in data centers all over the world. And by using cloud computing, users and companies don't have to manage physical servers themselves or run software applications on their own machines anymore. So we kind of come to this acts as a service thing, and we'll just talk about it briefly in this talk that we have today. Yeah, so basically that is computing, and then we have the cloud. So cloud computing, right? think um oh shit, gone so far. Like, yeah, so over time you can just see it's not something that started yesterday with like the Amazon Web Services or the Google Cloud Platform or Azure. It goes back, way back, from about 1969 when we were discovering the ARPANET, and we came to virtualization, and we advanced virtualization so much. We currently even talk about containerization in serverless applications. But the term cloud computing originated at about 1997 by this guy called Professor Ramnath. He coined the term, um, which is basically a combination of what we've just talked before, sharing compute resources over the internet. And the cloud is basically someone else's computer sitting anywhere else in the world, and we call it the cloud. Um, so these are just like the key milestones. Of course, many other things have happened. Amazon was the first established uh, cloud service provider. That's in 2006. Not really the first because Salesforce was still there, but Amazon was the first to bring kind of infrastructure as a service. We'll talk about that later. Um, I don't know how it came about. I haven't read much about the history of Amazon, but I can just imagine the shop had grown so big and they wanted to save on costing. But that's a story for another day. So the cloud is really growing. We're estimating an average, like between 2012 and 2013, we had an average of 20% growth in adoption and utilization. And that is not really going to change a lot. Okay. But we're going so much ahead of ourselves here. We haven't even defined cloud computing itself. So, okay, formally, or yeah, we can just say cloud computing as of now is that practice of like renting resources. You know, the X is a service. We're using other people's resources like storage, space, CPU cycles, which are running on someone else's computer that we call the cloud. And then we just pay for what we're using. So the companies providing these services are what we refer to as a cloud provider. You know, some examples are Microsoft, Amazon. Microsoft has their Microsoft Azure offering. Amazon has their Amazon Web Services offering, and Google has their very famous Google Cloud Platform offering. Yeah, so we're moving from a point whereby before we talked about cloud computing a lot and the advent and okay, let's just say before AWS because there was not very much activities before that 2006. What used to happen is we used to develop our own applications in-house, right? And then we would go to the shop and we would buy a rack of servers and networking equipment, and then we would put down those that networking infrastructure, the routers and switches and LAN and connect to the internet. Then we would configure the servers, hard disks, hard drive, install virtualization software, so the hypervisors and stuff. Then we would run our software. So there was that like upfront capital you had to invest for you to run a software company. And over time, that really proved to be a little bit challenging and somewhat inefficient because you cannot really predict scale. You know, we like effectively predict scale and usages. So sometimes we overpurchase. We buy a lot of servers and we install our software on a lot of servers because we think we're having a lot of customers. And I think it's clear that we start seeing a lot of elements of wastage there. So the cloud comes in, and instead of buying all that software, all that server infrastructure and hardware and all that stuff, you just need to rent. So how does this really look like? It's like Amazon or Google or Microsoft. They have bought a lot of servers or even built some for themselves, like Microsoft does. And then they have created what you call data centers. So you don't need to have your own data center. You just need to go to a cloud provider and then you can rent their data center. Okay. So just need to go to Microsoft, then through Azure, you can rent like virtual machines, networking equipment, connect to the internet, databases, storage, all that stuff, and you trust them, because you don't really have to care about how the servers have been configured, for example, how the networking equipment has been laid down. The security is guaranteed. Like you don't need to worry about who is accessing the server room for example, okay? And that brings us to the shared responsibility model. You see, so I am mostly concerned about my application development, like the software I'm building or the software that I'm using, depending on what is your cloud consumer level. So software that I'm building or software that I'm using, I'm no longer really concerned about the physical hardware. So the cloud provider is responsible for the physical hardware required to execute your work and for keeping it up to date with like the security patches and hard disk. If the hard disk kichapa, the cloud provider will uh, put up another one. Data redundancy, what happens in case of a power surge, all that hardware stuff, you trust the cloud provider with it. Then the computing services that you offered with, you care about them. And these computing services are just typically like the compute server you get. You know, I'll go to, let's say, Azure, and you'll say, yeah, I want a server. Yeah, let's just call it a server. There are many other names for it, but yeah, I just want a server. And I want a big or a small server, a medium-sized server. Then yeah, you just get that and say you want like storage. Maybe you want there are different storage classes, but say you just want storage to store photos, and you get like object storage, you know, and you can say, yeah, I want this maybe this server to be only privately accessible, and you set up like some networking equipment for to ensure secure connections between the private provider and your company. Like you can set up VPNs and all that fancy stuff that you will learn later. And also analytics. You want to visualize telemetry and performance data. You want to see how is my application really performing in this server? What is the utilization like? Uh, what logging do we have in case of downtime? So all that analytics, your cloud provider will provide you with them. And still, we think about security and compliance. We talked about trust, So you are trusting the cloud provider with your applications and data. Okay. So there is that element of shared responsibility between the cloud provider and you, who is now the customer, because you technically renting the hardware resources. Okay. So the first phase of it is the security of the cloud. Okay. By this, I'm talking about the physical data centers in the various places, US, South Africa, what. So the security of the cloud is a responsibility of the cloud provider. Like the Azure is responsible to ensure that nobody is accessing the servers, nobody is like plugging out your hard disk and stealing your data. That is the security of the server. So all the infrastructure, the hardware, the software, the facilities like the houses that run the cloud services, that is the responsibility of the cloud provider. Then there is the security in the cloud. You know, it's like now when you rent a house, um, we can say that the security of the building, is the owner, the property owner's responsibility. But the security of your house, inside your house, did you lock the door when you left the house and such stuff, is your responsibility. So the security in the cloud is, for instance, how have you configured your applications? How have you configured your firewalls? What kind of passwords do you use for your databases, for example? So the security in the cloud is entirely the customer's responsibility. And depending on what services you're taking on the cloud, what services you're consuming, what applications you're setting up, your deployments, just what you're using determines the amount of effort you need in terms of configuration in the cloud to ensure that you take, okay, determines the amount of responsibility you're going to take on. And yeah, as we talk about this shared responsibility, we tend to think about, okay, how much responsibility, how much, like, how much are you willing to take on? You've gone from the level whereby you're now saying, yeah, buying my own servers and hosting my stuff on my premises is a little bit, it's a lot of uphill capital that this fails or anything, I might not be able to get back. But I have moved, okay, to the cloud. I have my applications and data, all of them are in the cloud. And we're not talking about shared responsibility. How much responsibility are you taking on, or how much responsibility is the cloud provider going to take on? And this is where we talk about the three types of cloud services, and that's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. I think you remember me mentioning the X as a service paradigm. Uh, you'll still find some other X's as a service, like functions as a service later, but these are like the three most common in the basic ones that you'll people talk about a lot in interviews, and you'll just need to understand them to even get a better grasp of what is happening in any cloud provider, not just Azure. You need to understand all these different classes of services. So let's look at each of them. So I think the first one is infrastructure as a service. It's the most flexible category of the cloud services, and it gives you the most control over the provided hardware that runs your applications. So the IT infrastructure servers, the virtual machines, the storage and operating systems, they're just like your responsibility. And instead of buying hardware with infrastructure as a service, you rent it. It's an instant computing infrastructure provisioned and managed over the internet. So this is like, I just went to Azure and I get the virtual machines, period. So I'm not getting any further configuration on it. I will choose the operating system I want to install, and I will install the operating system on the virtual machine. I'll just choose it and install it for me. Um, Whatever services I want to configure there, I'll choose whatever networking. How do I want to network my services? How do I want the VMs to communicate with each other? Do I want to install a database management system inside the virtual machine? All that decision is entirely on me. So the cloud provider is not taking on further responsibility other than providing you with the hardware resources to run on, and the hardware resources and the platform to provide you with them. So you get to choose, you get to configure everything however you want it. Okay. And it's like the first, like the most basic cloud service, and virtual machines are a good example of that. Um, the next one is, so you see, when you're using infrastructure as a service, you will configure everything by yourself, like the networks, the operating system, the networks, the application running inside the operating system, the web servers. So ensuring that a service is up and running is a shared responsibility. Again, what are we sharing here? So the cloud provider, Azure, or Microsoft Azure in this case, is just responsible for ensuring that the cloud infrastructure is functioning correctly. So the cloud provider is just thinking about the power. Is the hard disk okay? Right? The heat in the facility, like everything, the hardware and the facility is running smoothly, just as we talked about. Then you, as the customer, you're responsible for ensuring that the service you're using is configured correctly. So is your service secure? Is it correctly configured to function correctly? Is the operating system you installed on the infrastructure up to date? And is it available to your customers or end users? So this is like now a good example to talk about the shared responsibility model. All right, so um, then we have platform as a service. So platform as a service is just a layer of abstraction higher than infrastructure as a service. While at infrastructure as a service level, we talked about you just provided with the hardware and the platform that enables you to effectively utilize the hardware. No further configuration is done. With platform as a service, an environment for building, testing, and deploying software applications is like pre-configured for you, because the goal of platform as a service is to help you create an application quickly without managing the underlying infrastructure. For example, when you're deploying a web application using platform as a service, you don't have to install the operating system, the web server, or even do any systems update. So this is like kind of a build pack thing. So the cloud providers have hosted. Okay, the first offering was infrastructure as a service, of course, because we talked about Amazon's first thing was EC2, which is just virtual machines on AWS. But over time, we have our own learnings and experience and expertise. So we know, for instance, to deploy a Node.js application, these are the things we need. Okay, so we tell you we have experts who are good at deploying Node.js applications who will take care of the nitty gritties like scaling and upscaling and downscaling. So you just build your Node.js application. The cloud provider is going to configure the servers. You don't need to care about the operating system, whether it's running on Windows or Ubuntu. They're just going to do the configuration, and you just go to their portal and you click through, say, you want to deploy a Node.js application or a C# application or a Python application. They have different, I call them build packs to do that for you, and like a predetermined infrastructure set to help you with that. So that is platform as a service. And Google have theirs called App Engine, um, and Amazon Web Services have theirs that is called Elastic Beanstalk. Then for Azure, we're just going to be talking about it. We just wanted you to know about the others. It's not just Azure only. Then software as a service. So we're just abstracting more. We're moving higher. Okay. So in platform as a service, we no longer cared about the operating system. We didn't care about the networking equipment. Basically, we didn't care about the configurations. We just built our applications and we cared about our applications and data. And we gave all the other responsibilities to the cloud provider. Now, in software as a service, even the software itself is built, you know, like Office 365 available over the internet. But software as a service. We don't build shit, we just use, we consume. So software as a service is software that is centrally hosted and managed for the end customer. It is usually based on an architecture where one version of the application is used for all the customers and is licensed through a monthly or annual subscription. So talk about the Microsoft Office 365. It's over the internet. You just need to pay and use. So you use things like Power Platform, BI, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Analytics, all that stuff. You don't build anything. You just customize and use. Um, yeah. So that is like the highest level of abstraction. So that is software as a service. I know most of us have used software as a service, but of importance to really understand is these types of like cloud architectures or type of cloud services are just layered on top of each other. Infrastructure as a service is like the baseline. You just want a VM to do whatever you want to do with it, install a VPN or everything, just configure everything for yourself. Platform as a service is a little bit pre-thought of, and the cloud provider already has an idea or knows what you want to build. So takes much more responsibility of the cloud resources and you just care about your application and data. And software as a service, you just consume the software. You don't care where it runs, who built it, how it was built. I just use Office 365. That is software as a service. So yeah, so platform as a service just adds a layer on top of infrastructure as a service, just providing a level of abstraction. And the abstraction has a lot of benefits. And one of them is the benefit of hiding the details that you do not care so much about. You, yeah, you didn't care about the hardware. So you feel like, yeah, you don't really care about the complexities of securing and updating and patching an operating system. And you just want to get to coding quicker. You use platform as a service. However, one aspect of the abstraction is you have to accept that you get less control over the underlying hardware. Okay, so let's just have a sneak peek of how this really looks like. So this is how it basically looks like. The light blue is what you manage, and the dark blue is what the cloud provider manages. So on the far left, we have on-premise. This is like the traditional way of doing it. We buy servers, we lay down the networking equipment, we configure the servers, we configure the networks, ensure we have internet connectivity, we configure the storage, we virtualize operating systems, we install applications and application middleware. Then we have applications and data running. So on premise, we own everything. We configure everything, including the servers. Then first thing is we now have the servers being owned by the cloud provider, and they're now giving it back to us through a portal or a platform as infrastructure, but as a service. So this is now where we're renting the second block from the left, and that is the first block, infrastructure as a service. So because we don't technically manage the servers, so the cloud provider takes care of the server to server networking, the storage, like the physical storage, the physical server does the virtualization for you. Then from there, you can install your operating system, you can install your middlewares, you can define your runtime if it's Python or Go or Node.js. Um, and then on top of it, have your data and applications. You have the most control. You just don't control the physical stuff, but you can configure it upwards. Then platform as a service, you see now well, IaaS was kind of 50-50. With platform as a service, it's like the cloud provider is like taking 80% of the responsibility because just the networking for you. And after virtualization, they determine what operating system is installed for you. You can choose, but they will patch it, they will maintain it for you, they'll maintain the middleware, then also they will also maintain the runtime. If you choose Python 3.6, patch the runtime. So they technically manage the runtime downwards. What you really care about is, yeah, fancy Python code I wrote. I just want to run it, go there, run it, and how you store the data. Those are the only things you care about on platform as a service. But look at software as a service. It's just software that you don't install on your machine, offered over the internet by cloud providers. So that's how it kind of looks like in a nutshell. And of importance really is you need to know that you can always combine all these cloud services to fit your needs. So they each contain different levels of managed services, but you can easily use a combination of all of this. You could use Microsoft Office 365 on your company computers, and then in Azure, you could host your virtual machines, which are effectively infrastructure as code, and then use the Azure SQL database, which is platform as a service. And why do you think Azure SQL database is platform as a service? Because you could technically take an Azure virtual machine, okay, configure it, install the operating system, configure your middleware, install a runtime or not, then install a database management system like the Microsoft server or uh, PostgreSQL or MySQL, then you would effectively have a database service. But with the Azure SQL database service, you don't really care about all that. You just want a specific database management system to connect to and store your data. Azure will handle what hardware it runs on, what operating system it runs on, if the storage autoscales or not. That's why it's platform as a service. And you just care about a place to store your data. That's it. And with the cloud flexibility, you can use any combination that provides you with the maximum result. Maximum result depends on how you want to measure it, like greatest cost saving, greatest uh, shortest time to market, and that all those can be easily twisted to be the benefits of the cloud. Like we just have a lot of benefits. It's now easy to streamline your workflows. It's development is much more rapid. If let's say you're using platform as a service, you don't really care about operating systems, networking, and all that stuff, auto scaling. You just want a place to deploy applications. So you have a shorter time to market. Then it's much more cost effective. I don't need to buy servers anymore. So if tomorrow I have no customers, I don't need the services. And also I just pay for what I'm using. So if I have an upsurge, I just pay for more on the day that I used more. I don't need to have a fleet of servers that are constantly running and are underutilized. And it's generally more secure. Like you can imagine the amount of security investment Microsoft puts on their data centers compared to how much investment you could put to securing the servers or just say your own data center that you bought the other day. And it's, yeah, definitely more flexible. You choose what services you want to run. Maybe I want to run infrastructure as a service, it's not a VM. Fine, I can configure it by myself. No, I just want everything configured. I just want to run my app. It's flexible. It's just APIs and buttons and things move really quickly. Yeah, so that's mostly like it. And our cloud of choice is Microsoft Azure, which has a lot of services. The best way to just group them is how they have. So we have, okay, cloud services are generally grouped in compute, networking, and storage, generally. But yeah, you can see here we have compute, integration, media and CDN, web and mobile, analytics, and IoT, developer services, and data. Um, Before really going deep into any of these services, it's actually better to just go and interact with them by yourself, build out stuff, try out stuff. Um, it's a it's better when you do it real time. So between now and the demo, I will be taking questions for like the next 5-ish minutes. You can discuss, you can just unmute and ask your question or drop it on the chat and can talk about it.
Yes, Rose, go on.
So do you have any questions? I see Rose's hand is up. Go ahead, Rose. I'm sorry, Rose, I can't hear you well. There is a lot of background noise from your end. Did anyone hear what Rose asked? Okay, Rose, you can just type it out in the chat. Oh, okay, I can hear you now. Just ask. Do I do what? Come up again.
Microsoft Azure Security Technology.
Microsoft Azure Security.
Yeah, technology.
Yeah, so Microsoft Azure offers a lot of security features, like really a lot, depending on how you're looking at security. Security from what aspect. So yeah, we have like DDoS protection on Microsoft Azure. We have services to like strengthen the security of your cloud workloads, and protect. So, for example, if you wanted to like encrypt stuff and just safeguard your cryptographic keys and other secrets, you can use the key vault, right? If you wanted to protect your Azure resources from denial of service, DDoS, there is Azure DDoS protection. If you wanted to control and help secure email, documents, and sensitive data that you share outside your company, you can use Azure Information Protection. If you wanted to protect your applications from common web vulnerabilities and exploits, you can always use the Azure Application Gateway. Then just if you want a place to unify security management and enable advanced threat protection for workloads in the cloud, you can use the Azure Security Center. So yeah, we have a lot of features for security on Azure. I hope I answered your question, Rose. Okay, cool. You're welcome. Um, any other questions? I haven't seen anything on the chat, or I think we're all okay then. That's a perfect world. Yeah, so
Hey, James.
yeah, hi.
Hi, this is Michael.
Okay, hi, Michael.
Yeah, thank you for the very comprehensive introduction to computing and
Yeah.
the mention of the Microsoft Azure cloud services.
Yeah.
I must say I'm not very new to technology, but I'm relatively new to cloud services.
Okay, no problem. Here to
Yes,
help each
so
other.
correct. So number one, I'm here to have fun, getting to know the new world. Then two, of course, to network, and three, look for opportunities as far as the cloud services are concerned. Truth be told, whether we like it or not, true to like what you've said, everyone has at one point used cloud services.
Yeah, sure.
Gmail, Microsoft Outlook, what, Office 365, name it. So it's upon us to just get to know where and what our strengths are, and get to know what you can do with them. So as we get along this journey, probably one of the things I am very keen on is to look for opportunities. Say like a guy who's been in analytics, an area that I'm very much interested in. A guy who's been in, say, network infrastructure management, also another area that I'm very much interested in. What are the opportunities that are there? Especially, it's good that you have been in the market. You know what is going on out there. You know the kind of talk that engineers and the higher levels are talking about. That is one of the things, because I have been in and out of industry and so on and so forth. And what I find, especially with the beginners, that newbies, is that it becomes very hard to say, yes, I know two things about, say, can I take one of the domains, compute? I can meddle around with infrastructure in Microsoft Azure. But then, so what? How do I monetize that? That is the big question. So mine is not really a question as such, but a comment to make up to point out that what will really make a lot of difference, especially for newbies, is to point out those opportunities and get to say, hey, this is the thing. 1, 2, 3. Over.
Oh, yeah, that is really insightful. Thanks a lot, Michael. Yeah, so
Yep.
yeah, let's say you learn all this fancy stuff, all the about Azure and Azure management, installing, deploying services on Azure, the balancing, configuration management. The $65,000 question is, what next? How can I use this newly gained knowledge to, like, how can I benefit from this newly gained knowledge, which is technically a question that points us to career opportunities available in the cloud. Yeah, the cloud is like the new software engineering workplace, really, or workspace. One of the easiest entry points is just being uh, a DevOps engineer, or what much more other people call a site reliability engineer, who is a generalist, you know, with all that cloud knowledge, and you couple it up with some other vital skills like Linux systems administration, a little bit of networking, a little bit of automation, and software engineering, you know, and that's just like the easiest way to get in there. But we have much more specialized roles, like just like a cloud security specialist who is just concerned about security on the cloud. How are the cloud workloads secure, the networks, uh, intrusion detection management systems in place, compliance. Um, we can also talk about a cloud solutions architect, like the person who just designs various, like if you have an idea of, let's say, or you already have a microservice architecture set up, someone who's going to architect how that is going to sit in the cloud, and what are the various cloud services that you can use to strike a balance of cost effectiveness, shortest time to market, and highest developer productivity. We can also talk about the very important cloud support engineer. Like, you can get hired by, say, Microsoft if you're so good with Azure, or AWS, Amazon if you're good with Amazon Web Services, or Google Cloud Platform, to become a cloud support engineer who informs other developers, or helps organization troubleshoot issues that they're having while trying to run their workloads on the cloud. Yeah, so that's just but to name a few. There are so many other things you can gain from learning cloud concepts, depending on the background you come from. If you're from software engineering, it can really help you become a much more productive software engineer, because you can own your services end to end, right? From writing the first line of code to deployment, monitoring, and incident response. So that's just like a summary, but there is clearly a lot to benefit from just learning cloud concepts. Yeah, so I hope I answered you comprehensively, Michael.
Oh yeah, that's good enough. That's good enough for now. I'm looking forward to more engagement in the demo and a lot of learning.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, questions are still welcomed for like the next 1 minute. Any more questions, guys? Like we're a very small team. We could even do a round robin.
Just probably one more thing.
Yeah.
In terms of certifications, I know this information might be available somewhere on the net, but in terms of certifications, what would you recommend? What is the basic? What's the entry point in Microsoft Azure, or does it depend on? Okay, I would expect it to be probably maybe in the line of service or?
Okay, so I think you asked about what are the best certifications or where to begin with
Yeah.
certification for
Okay.
Microsoft Azure. I
Correct.
think,
Correct. You see, like, sorry. You see, like, for if I'm in networking, for instance, I know that CCNA is the entry point. Okay.
oh yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. In Microsoft Azure, I know, like you say, compute, storage, stuff like that. But do we have that generalist point of entry?
Yeah, I think there is AZ300, Microsoft Azure,
EC300.
so fundamentals, Azure fundamentals. But I see Bethany's hand is up. Sure she has much more clarity on that, Beth.
Okay, so the basic certification for Azure is Azure Fundamentals. That is AZ900. I think it's $5. Oh no, $55. Yes, that makes more sense. Yes, it's $55.
Okay.
Yeah.
Useful information. AZ 900 Azure fundamentals.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Fantastic. I was not really in touch with that very much.
Yeah. Any more questions?
Yes, I think at this point I'll just pass it on to Beth to take us through the awesome stuff she's prepared for us. So it's demo time. Let me stop sharing my slides. And Beth, you're welcome. Take it on.
Okay. 1 minute. So on my screen is the Azure portal. So I hope everyone can be able to see it.
It's still loading. I can just see your picture.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, it's there. Thanks.
Okay. So let me first move this. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to do, let me share. So this is basically what I'll be doing in the demo. So we'll be exploring the Azure portal, then talking about credits. So Azure has different subscriptions. So for instance, my subscription is I have the subscription from my student ambassadors program. So as part of the student ambassador, they get $150 of credits every month. So my default subscription will be the Visual Studio subscription. So there are different subscriptions in Azure. So when you want to use Azure, there's the option of when you go to the Azure landing page. See, Microsoft Azure, yes. So when you go to the Microsoft Azure page, the first thing you see is you can try Azure for free. So trying Azure for free allows you to get for 12 months you get $200 of credit, and you can explore Azure for like you can just explore Azure. So there are different credits. So the other subscription is for students. You can be able to get $100 of credit extra on top of this. Then so you can pay subscription either monthly, or you can be billed by the organization you want, or you can just, if you want to like get some specific things, you can just pay for the specific thing. So maybe the first thing I can show you for the like students in here, you can be able to get the free Azure credits. So you can go to You can use GitHub. So with GitHub, it's the education pack. So you go to education.github.com, then there's a lot of free stuff in here for like students. If you have a student email, so you can just go to cloud, then the cloud options, there's the Microsoft Azure. So you want the Microsoft Azure benefit. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to get my pack. So you can get your pack there, then go to cloud, then go to Microsoft Azure, where you can now, you'll be redirected to this. So it's azure.microsoft.com/free/students. So now you can activate your credits. So it's step-by-step instructions will be given on how to like now activate all your credits. So you'll be able to get like the $1,000, $100 per yeah, for a whole year. So yes. So now I think we can go to the demos. So these are the two ways you can get free credits. So the next thing is now looking at the Azure portal, how it looks like. So this is, let me change. So I hope you can all see it clearly. So this is how the portal looks like. So you can, these are like the resources that you have. Then you can be able to create new. So you can either create a resource, manage all your resources. You can create a resource from your Azure portal or using the marketplace. So the marketplace is like where you can find already pre-configured resources. So you don't have to do the configuration. You just go there and probably get the thing that you need. So if you need a VM that's already pre-configured, you can just go and get one. So there's the help, then the different policies that you set, then you can have the different now storage account. So a storage account is necessary when you're building most things. So you need a storage account for most of the things that you build. Like if you're building your web app, where will you store it? Then there's a different resource group. So when I create something, like I'm creating a VM, that's a resource. So a VM must be under a resource group. Then now you can check your costs and other services. So here it's about the Cloud Shell. So you can also create using the Cloud Shell. So those guys who like CLIs and everything. Then here you can check your subscription, if you have any notifications, setting, help, and feedback. Then so I think that's basically it. Down here is the different tools. So Microsoft Learn is for like if you want to now learn the different things on Azure, you can just go there. Then Monitor is when you want to see how your apps are doing, how your resources are. Then this is for the security. Then your cost, how you manage your cost. So what you'll be doing today is just creating a virtual machine. So you can just create a resource directly from here, or create a virtual machine, or go to the menu, then create a resource, or just go to VMs. So before I create one, so maybe I can show you the different resources. Sorry. Yes, maybe I can show you the different offerings. So there's the AI and machine learning. There's machine learning studio. You can also have computer vision, text analytics, Bing search. There's the analytics part. There's blockchain. Compute is now where you create your servers and everything. Containers for Kubernetes, web app containers instances. Databases now for your storage needs. So there's the SQL, Azure database for MySQL. So it also has a free open source database like MongoDB. Yeah. So then the different tools that you can be able to integrate. DevOps now it's development and operations. So how do you link what you're developing and ensuring what's in production, how now the link. So then there's identity. Identity is now about your protection. Then integration, not really sure. Oh yeah, for logic apps, for your APIs, Internet of Things, IoT, one of the main upcoming things. So connecting everything you have. So there's the IoT hub for looking at all your devices, what you have. There's management tools. All these things are many. So there's management tools, there's media, there's migration, mixed reality. I think all of them, you just see what they're offering. Monitoring and diagnostics is to see how your apps are doing, and networking for those who want to create virtual networks. Then security, now this is how you're protecting yourself. So software as a service, now this is just the offerings that you don't really need to configure much, you're just using it on the platform. Storage, as I said, we have the different offerings. So we have the Azure Data Box, and yep. Then lastly we have web. So web for API, there's the content delivery network, the media services, Azure Cognitive Services, when you want to create a static web app, etc. So our aim today is creating a virtual machine. So if you have any question, feel free to interrupt. Yeah. So this is what comes afterwards. So what I do is I just add a new virtual machine. So you see the option is you can start with a preset, or you can just create one from scratch. So I'll be creating one from scratch. So my subscription, as I said, I have the Visual Studio subscription that I'm given by student partners. So I can create a new resource group or use something that I already have. So maybe I can use the demo VM resource group. Then let me give it a name. So name Pikachu. Then now region is now where you want your resource to go. So most of the time I find that West Europe is like the most friendliest to us, but then Africa. So these are the ones that have the lowest latency. So you can create either of them. Then now the image is now the operating system that you want. So I'll use Windows Servers 2019. Then size, I can just retain it there. Yep. Then now my username. So username, I can still retain it as Pikachu. Password, so password has, I can create a 12-word password. So I already had one here, so that I can just copy and paste. So this is the password. So the requirements is it must be 12 characters long to 123, have one uppercase, one lowercase, one number, and one special character. So yep. Then now for the ports. So I want to connect it to my PC. So maybe I'll have the RDP port and HTTP and the RDP port. Then everything else can just remain the same. Now the other thing I want to do is look at networking. So now I have connected the port. So now I have to ensure the ports here are connected, it's okay. Then I go to management to ensure that I can be able to, so I don't want to have a storage account, so I can just create it without. So when you're using something in production, it's not recommended to have the RDP port open, because it will allow people who have your IP address to access your VM. This is not advisable. So I think everything else you can just retain, or you can now check, like probably you don't want a premium STD, you want standard one. So depending on the amount of money you're using, your subscription, you can just check things and see if everything is okay. Management, advanced. So if you want to create tags, you can just add them. So I think for me, everything is okay. So we can wait for it to develop. Any questions so far? Okay. So I have, that was validation. So now I am creating my VM. So the next thing is I want to connect it to my local PC. So how can I use my VM locally? So now I'll be using RDP, so I can wait until it's finished. So it's giving me notification, so deployment in progress. Yep, so it's already, no, it's still in progress. Any questions so far?
Bethany,
Yeah.
Michael here, I noticed that the charge for that machine that you just created is 0.17 something per hour.
Yeah.
So it means that the 10 might, if I am on for, let's say, 10 hours, that will be charged at $1.
Yeah.
And so if I'm on for 100 hours, which translates to how many days? About 5 days or so, my 100 bob will be gone.
Yeah.
Oh. And now anything else from that will now require actual payment if I have to continue using that server.
Yeah.
Okay. And by the way, in this case, per hour means per hour of that virtual server being up.
Yeah. You can delete it afterwards, or you can just, so it depends. So since this is just a demo, I'll obviously delete it after I'm done. But
Yeah,
you
that's
can
fine.
also
Yeah.
have it like, if this VM is not supposed to be up, you can be able to like switch it off for a while, so that it does not eat your credits, and probably, yeah, it does not eat your credit. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
So I
supposing
think, uh-huh.
now supposing I have a situation where I have an application, I don't know which application it is,
Uh-huh.
that doesn't really need the server to be up. Do we have a version of a server that can be okay? Do we charge the server? What do I want to ask? Can you put the server
So
on like sort of maintenance mode so it doesn't charge? For as long as the server is being created, an image exists, the charge machine still runs. Do you get what I mean?
okay, so you mean so there's a stop, uh what is it called, stop button, stop option. So you can be able to stop your VM from running, and you can be able to restart it and then start it again. So it depends. And there's also the delete option. So if you're not using it, you can just stop it for a while. If you will not use it again, you can just delete it. But for most, a VM is like as Lemaiyan said, it's infrastructure as a service. So if you're just creating a website, you may not need to have a VM. You can just have it hosted without necessarily using a VM. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, no, that kind of answers the question, because I think then it will be it will be very expensive for me.
Yeah.
If say you just have a website and the website doesn't have a lot of traffic, you just be paying for all the services because of what you just said. I get a point.
Okay. So maybe I can just wrap it up. So since I've already created my VM, so now running it in my local machine. So I'll use RDP since that's what I used. So with RDP, I can download the file and then run it in my own. Can you see the other screen? Okay, so let me just share my whole screen. Yes, now you can see it. So this is what pops up when you install your RDP. So you can now connect it. Then after connecting it, it asks you for your credentials. Yes. So my username was Pikachu. Password, I hope it's zero there. Then I can sign in. So it will sign me in. So you can just ignore this because since it cannot be verified, it's already mine, so there's no need to still need verification. Then it connects, then it leads me to now my virtual machine. So this is my VM created, and I can be able to work with it. So it's personalizing my settings. So a VM is basically a virtual machine. So it's like, for instance, if my machine, my RAM is low, and I want to use a machine that has a greater RAM, and I cannot afford to buy a new one. So you can just create a VM where you can just be able to use it to do everything. So you can just set up your VM, and yeah, I think that is all about creating a VM. You already have it on your PC and you're good to go. Probably any more questions? Okay, so let me continue with okay. So we've been able to explore the Azure portal. We've been able to see how we can get credits. So the next thing is where do you go to practice more on this? So there's the Azure Fundamentals Learning Path. So you can find the path at Microsoft Learn on docs.microsoft.com, then Learn. So from Learn, you can get the Microsoft Fundamentals path where you can learn more about the cloud concepts, creating your Azure account, the different services that Azure offers, then the computing, storage, networking, then also learn about the security, responsibility, and trust that Lemaiyan was talking about. And afterwards, you can be able now to also learn about how do you predict your own costs, how do you optimize spending for Azure. So these are the basic, this is the basic things you need to learn. I'm pretty sure you've covered most of it. So if you want to practice more on the labs, so where do you go? So for the labs, there's a GitHub account at, okay, let me check. So there's a GitHub account on Azure. Yes, Microsoft Docs. GitHub, you can just go to Microsoft Docs. No, this is a crash course in Python. Sorry. Oh wow, just give me a minute as I look for it. So there's the learning path on Azure that you can be able to. No, there's the practice labs on GitHub that can be able to see them and then practice them on your own as you go. So there are different labs to just help you practice what you learn on the Microsoft Learn path. So yes. And lastly, I think that is all from my end. Yes. So you can be able to explore the labs at so I think this link is taking a while to load. So I will send the link over. You can be able to practice the lab. So it's just a GitHub repository that has a collection of all the links that you need to practice the labs. So I think that's all from me. Anyone with any question on Azure?
Hello, Beth.
Yeah.
How I'm just thinking, if I were to resell the Azure services, I'm in the line of hosting, so I'm seeing this as an opportunity for me to resell to other clients or offer support as a service. How do I go about it?
So one way you can is you can become a Microsoft partner, and then you can buy your own subscription. So let's say, for instance, since for me I get a subscription of 150 credits a month, so maybe since you already have your subscription, you can now be able to have tenants under your subscription. So being I'm a tenant in the Visual Studio, so mine is like a tenant account in the whole subscription. So we are like 3,000 of us, and each of us has will be given 150 credits a month. So you can also do the same, have tenants under your subscription. So just have people who pay you to use your account. Like for instance, for Netflix. So there are people who pay for Netflix, and then there are people who they pay for Netflix, but since they can't use all the 4 accounts, they look for someone else to like share the cost. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So that means I'll have to create, how will they be logging into the portal?
No, they can log in with their own accounts, but just have them have a subscription. So as you can see, this is my own account. Yes. Okay. No, not really. Each account, you can be able to assign the subscription to the accounts. Okay. So like, for example, this is my account. And in my account, I have the subscription of student ambassadors. Yeah. So, yes. So I'm assigned the part of the subscription. Okay. So there's also Yes, I think that is the best way you can be able to use it.
Okay.
The other way is you can also create your own organization emails where they can also use those emails that you've created to access the accounts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the next question. If I were to have emails, that is, let's say my client wants to use at, let's say, kelvin.co.ke, where kelvin.co.ke is their own service or their own domain. Does Azure come with Outlook as the default web client, email client?
So that's Office 365.
So
So
it's not.
Outlook is now.
Sorry.
Azure, yes, it's not the same. It's not the same thing. Azure is just the cloud service. Then Office 365 is now. Let me show you. So Office 365 is now another whole offering on its own.
Okay. It doesn't include the email services. Azure does not include the email services.
No, it doesn't. I'm not sure if it does. I'm not 100%, but I don't think so. Let me show you my. So these are all the apps in my Office 365. So you can be able to see I have a calendar, dynamics, forms. This is all part of Office 365. So there's no Azure here. Maybe Azure Notebooks, which is notebooks in Azure, but there's no Azure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is a separate subscription from Azure.
Yes, this is now Office 365.
Okay. The reason I'm asking, if I were to resell, the people that I would target are businesses. And normally, let's say businesses would want to run their website on the cloud and also on their emails. And normally, the current services that I have is it combines both file storage, object storage, and email services. So that's why I was asking on the same. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way you can be able to create. Maybe I can do more research on it. If you can be able to have emails on Azure, but Outlook is on Office 365. That's an entirely different platform. Yeah.
I will appreciate your feedback on the same.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, Michael.
I want to also look at it. Maybe this is a build-up on my colleague's question. Supposing you have another email service, an independent email service. Probably Microsoft will not give us that because we already have Outlook as part of Office 365. But if you have your another mail service, so you get a server and run that mail service on that server, which is a VM. How about that?
Pardon? Sorry.
What I mean
can you
is,
repeat what you just said?
Yes, what I mean is, I'm trying to look at the kind of question that has come from one of our participants. That you have, I think that was Kelvin. You have your server where you run your mail service. All right. Now, from that mail service, just like the way the normal hosting is done, but now you're running your mail service on Azure. Either you have the server and then set up your mail server there, and then you have subscriptions from your clients on that server. I don't know if that paints a picture.
I don't understand this. But the thing with Azure is it does not it's not like it's entirely only Microsoft things that run on Azure. You can have a Linux server on Azure. You can have something like MongoDB on Azure. So Azure also integrates third-party apps to it. So it's not like it's entirely just Microsoft.
Perfect.
Does that make sense?
No, That even comes close. That even comes close to what I'm thinking. That you have your server, and then you run whatever mail application on that server. Then you can do the normal mail subscriptions to your clients, so long as they will have access to that server. That's my thinking.
Okay. I think that's all for today. I'm not sure if anyone else has a question.
Mine is a compliment to you and James. I think the presentation was well organized and then well thought through, and I really appreciate you taking your time for this presentation. And just as to guide us through on this, I look forward for the next event on the same, as I would really like to learn more on Azure. So thank you to you, Beth and James.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
So thank you all. Have a good evening.